Everyone that has joined us. Sometimes it takes a little while for everything to sync up. So you're on LinkedIn Live with me, Janice B. Gordon, and Alison Fell, and we're going to be talking about really how to empower women, how to get more allies. We really want to ensure that we have a level playing field, and we have the optimizing our sales team. So it's really about the power of women supporting women in sales. Now, this came about because Alison and I, we got on a call and we were talking about this very subject, and we thought, we need to be talking about this. We need to be talking about this because International Women's Day is coming up on the 8th of March. Now, it should be a month. In fact, we should have the whole year. And so it's really good to start having these conversations. We really want to hear from you. So make sure you comment and your questions, like what we're have to say, and add your bit, because this is all about having a discussion, bringing women, empowering other women in sales. What you share your experience. So we're about to kind of go into the conversation, but I'm really want to sync up all of the different channels that we're on. So Alison, do you want to first introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Janice, and thank you for inviting me on to here. It's a pleasure. I am the business leader for the UK. So I'm the business owner for SalesStar UK. And we work with growth-minded business leaders who are typically feeling frustrated and are looking at ways to strategize and grow. So it's great to have that synergy with yourself, Janice. I know that we have had deep conversations in the past, and I'm looking forward to going through this today.
So am I. This is one of my favourites, and this time of year just reminds me we need to be talking about this. There are so many examples. There seems to be like a revolving door, and very much also at senior levels, not necessarily in UK and Europe, but what I'm seeing from a lot of my colleagues and hearing from my colleagues and friends that are out in the US. And certainly, when speaking to Mary Shea, we had the Women in Sales Summit that was out in Napa in 2022. And much of the research that she has done and continues to do talks about, some of the barriers and some of the benefits, but also what we need to do as sales leaders and allies. So, we're going to be talking about some stats, but really sharing our experience. But we really do want to hear from the audience that's on the call. So there's one thing that I wanted to flag with you, Alison, and I remember when I was talking about the generational differences in the workplace. There's often 4 generations. Yes. So when we're talking about inclusivity and diversity, I know we're focusing on women, but I thought this was really interesting research that came up. And this was from AMANY. And what they said was women make up 54% of B2B buyers under 30, and most of them are under 25. So B2B buyers, which is quite staggering. Yes. And it's great to see. While men handle 75% of business purchases over $100,000. So the research they were doing and through the surveying predicts that women will make up most of the B2B buyers in less than 10 years. Wow. So we really need a workforce that reflects that actually reflects the customers, the people that you're talking to, that you're trying to sell to. Now, the stat on women in sales leadership, that figure has not changed. It's only 17%. In actual fact, I think if they were to redo the research on that, it would be a lot less now, post-pandemic. And the figures in terms of sales professionals, female sales professionals in sales is around 30%. And again, I would struggle to see anecdotally if that's still the case now post-pandemic. So we're not anywhere near where we need to be, or looking forward 5-10 years in reflecting our audience. If the numbers are going backwards, then we've got a chasm to try and leap. So let's talk about the power of collaboration. This, the conversation that we're had. I really want your perspective here.
I feel, we've had some really great conversations, and the main thing that comes out for me is that shifting mindset. The shifting mindset that supporting each other is going to be at the detriment of yourself. We're working together, we are supporting each other. It really amplifies each other's voices, and it makes it likely to accomplish those things that you've set out, those goals that you set for yourself, you're setting for others. So by abandoning that scarcity mindset or scarcity mindset, you're moving away from those beliefs, and that means that success isn't limited. You're embracing that and encouraging collaboration. Collaborating with other like-minded people, other like-minded women. It's about building each other up.
Certainly, there seems to be a view, and the thing is, whenever I hear this, it's like it's not my experience. And you may have heard this, Alison, as well, that people will say, well, women don't work well together, or when you get a bunch of women together, it's really cutthroat. And it's like, that is never my experience. I don't know about you.
No, I've had some excellent managers who are female, and they propelled me. There was a post that I put on LinkedIn about 3-4 months ago, who I recognised 3 of my previous managers had propelled me into this business that I'm in now. I feel that if they hadn't had that belief in me and pushed me forward in the earlier years, then I wouldn't be where I am.
Yeah. And I've had, perhaps, I don't, in terms of people that push you forward, is it more women or is it more men, or is it really it's about even on both sides? What's your experience?
I don't feel that there's a difference on either side. I feel that there's a potential that we as women can overlook the collaboration of another woman, and maybe not recognize that as often as we would do for maybe as often as we would do for another male colleague. So today I'd like to get that mindset shift around collaborating with male, female, whoever is all well and good, and let's ensure that collaboration helps everybody.
Yeah, and certainly we both work with OMG management. I'm in London, you're in the north. There are not many people that have access to this incredible database that we absolutely love, that helps sales teams in terms of being able to benchmark the best and making sure that they're recruiting the right people. There's so many stats in sales that I'm constantly quoting, one of which is 64% of sales hire fell within the first 18 months, which is a huge cost to the industry, to the managers that are having to manage the wrong people, all of that. So we're both on a campaign working to help organizations do that. But other people might think, well, why are they talking to one another? Why are they working with one another? They're competing with one another. And that's never been the way that we have seen this. It's always been about, we can support one another. It's not, as you've mentioned, about scarcity. We are very much based, what we do is on abundance and sharing, our insights. And when you're running, I've ran companies, and it's a very lonely task, and we're running our companies. It is a very lonely task, so you really do need those allies and collaborators that are with you for the long run.
Definitely, yes. I think when we get those comments of, oh, you know, you're fishing in the same water, you're fishing in the same pool, and how is it going to benefit you, then it's all about the growth minded. So, you know, we work with growth minded business leaders because we're looking for different ways to strategize, to expand on the knowledge. You know, growth minded is taught within schools, within primary schools, because to have that growth minded, you're constantly learning from each other and learning from yourself. And that's how I see our partnership, Janice, is, you know, we're both learning from each other, and that's helping with that self-development.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I certainly feel that. I can always kind of pick up the phone to Alison to like, I'm in this situation. Can you help? And, you know, but you often have coaches that they know how to ask the right question, but they don't know if it's the right answer.
Yes.
And then you have mentors that have probably further ahead of you been on the journey. And that's very much what this relationship is about. Someone that actually understands the niche that you're in, the goals that you have, and they've done it before, or, you know, you can leverage their experience. So it's really, really valuable.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, with the businesses you're working with and the businesses I'm working with, it's all about the coaching, the mentoring, the guiding, the building on that collaboration. You know, we're collaborating today to work with each other, to empower each other. And that's what we do in our businesses. We empower others to be successful, and others empower us to be successful. So that's the beauty of collaboration.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the other points we were going to talk about was breaking barriers. And, you know, I thought this was quite interesting. Harvard Business Review found that women are less likely than men to receive feedback on their performance, and it's hindering their careers. So that was kind of like one stat. So, you know, the hierarchy in sales, you have, you know, sales support SDRs, and then sales professionals, then the managers that will manage their team, and then, you know, you go into to leadership. But I thought feedback is so important in our industry, and I thought that it's really interesting what Harvard Business Review says about feedback. And I've read this before, that often women get negative feedback, whereas men get the positive feedback. It also says that women, in another study, found that women in sales face 66% more objections than a male counterpart. So this is from the buyers, from the customers they're working with. There's more objections. So it seems to be women in sales are getting it from both ends, you know, in terms of the barriers. They're not really supported internally, and then externally, they're having to deal with more of that negative objections.
Yeah, I mean, this leads me to, I mean, I read somewhere as well around promoting a culture where self-confidence and assertiveness, because as women, if you're assertive, sometimes that's criticized rather than celebrated. So it's how to change that narrative, which I believe maybe fits with the receiving the feedback and how to obtain that feedback as well.
Yes. Yeah. I remember on my Scale Your Sales podcast, maybe about 2 years ago, it was one of my campaigns about the words that we use in sales. And it's so disrespectful. The words we use, hunter, you know, we're not on a safari, you know, I think there's other words that we could use. Targets, you know. Our customers as targets, like we're shooting them. You know, it's very masculine words, and, you know, they're are you killing it? It's like someone said that to me once, and I said, no, I'm not killing anything. You know, I'm supporting my customers. I'm, you know, kind of like offering a service, but I'm not intending to kill anything. And they were quite embarrassed by the words they used. But just, we don't think about that the words we use in particularly in sales. But you're so right. And if you're assertive, then women are aggressive, and a man is confident.
Yeah.
And that's in the wider society. And we need to kind of change our perceptions of what it looks like. You may also and I hear this a lot, and even research has been done on this, and I don't believe in the research when I see these results, that women are less confident. And I always question, what are you measuring that against? If you're measuring it against a man looks to be confident if he demonstrates these particular traits, and then when a woman's not demonstrating those, then they're not confident. Well, that is bullshit.
I think we all, at some point in our careers, we all feel that imposter syndrome, whether we're male or female. So yeah, I would be with you on that. Those stats seem a little bit skewed.
Yes. All the women, I mean, can you imagine working with me? If you're not confident, dealing with me kind of thing, then yeah, I'm going to make you confident. All of my support team, VAs, anyone I work with, when they're finished working with me, they're more confident because I'm constantly picking them up on the language. Now, this is not the language, this is language they've been told. This is behaviors that have been put upon them. And it's when I question that, what are you measuring that up against? Is that true? What evidence have you got to support what other people feel about you or have said about you, or what you now feel about yourself? How do you know that's true? And you then start to find other evidence that dispels these negative connotations that women in particular, and certainly diverse groups, have been given. And it's really, we need to start to reject a lot of that. So when your manager in sales says that, you don't have charisma, or you don't have, the kind of go-getter or the killing power, what you need to question is what they're measuring that against, and is it true? And the problem is not the problem, the benefit of throwing it back on your managers, often it's not sustainable. They've just said it, and they're not thinking about what they're saying. It's something they've heard. But when you ask them to break it down and justify it, often they do not. And that's what I would encourage people to do.
Yeah, rather than walking away and internalizing things, ask the question.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a big thing in sales anyway, isn't it? And we always say, if you don't know, ask. There's no need to sit there and fester on things. Let's ask the question, because it could be as well that you've internalized things in a different way than it was intended to be received. However, there are parts of that where it was intended the way that you've received it. So let's ask those questions and just make sure.
Yeah. And on your point, it's received the way it was intended, is that I often say, and in fact, I was saying this, I think on Monday to someone, I try and make other people's problems and not my problem. Like if someone's sending you some information and message, and it's really about their perception of the world, not your world, but their world, why are you internalizing that? Because it's none of your business. It's got nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
And if you question what the basis of the information they're giving you, and they're not able to sustain it, it really is all about their perception, their world. And no one has stood in my shoes. No one has lived my life except me. So I think we just need to question these things a lot more, and ask people that may be negative in their feedback, ask them what is the basis of that. I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, definitely. Again, comes back to that mindset shift.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the other points that we were going to discuss was the strategies for success. So what would be your strategies for success?
Strategies for success, I believe, comes down to the goals. Many of us will have a goal in our mind, but without having it in your mind, the difference is you don't have it visible to you. So we would always say, write this down, write your goal down, and let others know what your goal is. You can have a business goal and a personal goal. Both of those will be you'll be working towards, but have somebody that can hold you accountable and ensure that you are being held accountable for your own success. That's one of the big key points that I would say take away from today.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I thought of in answering, strategy for success, and this is really an appeal to CEOs, founders, companies, chief revenue officers, that I meet a lot of sales leaders that talk about wanting a diverse team. And yeah, you giggle, and do nothing about what they've done before. They hire in the same way, which isn't successful. And I talk to them, I can help you with that. And then 2 years later, they may forget what they've said 2 years ago, and they're talking about the same thing. They're not really willing to change, the growth mindset, as you've talked about, Alison, change the way that they operate. And I often, in the panel discussions that I'm on for like women in sales or diversity in sales, talk about if the one thing that you can do in your organization to make a massive difference, and we all want a quick fix, it's not easy, but it's possible. Statistically, when you recruit a woman, a senior leader in sales, or a supervisor, right? Someone that will be managing and recruiting a team, they will naturally attract other women and other diverse people, because you've simply said it's possible. It's possible to reach the top. I often ask leaders, what is the makeup of your senior management team? And they always jump to the non-executives. And it's like that, they're not running you the operation. I want to know, because it's easy. That's the easiest thing to do. Add a few women, add a few ethnic minorities, and job done. I want to know who's in the senior leadership team. Now, I'm actually not really interested in the answer. I just want them to think about it, because I've noticed. Now, if you say that you're diverse, that you're an ally for bringing more women in, but actually in your companies it doesn't exist, then really you need to start walking the walk and talking the talk. So that's the one thing you can do. Now, it means then, one, you need to use the recruitment tools that we use, that brings the cream to the top by identifying sales specific criteria, the 21 core competencies that will demonstrate success, on the job sales success. The problem is, what they tend to use in order to identify who will be a sales leader, they use past performance, and that's what we know. Past performance is not an indicator of future performance. And also, they choose the wrong people, because a top sales person is all about me. A top sales leader is all about the team. So recruiting the top salespeople, even if it's a top saleswoman, doesn't necessarily mean that they have the right competencies for leadership, which we can tell them. So that's the first thing that they can do, is use a better recruitment method and actually recruit a senior sales person who will then naturally, easily attract more of a diverse team. And we know that when we have a diverse team, they're more profitable. So, that's a win-win on both sides.
Yeah, especially in this current climate, everybody's looking at those, the quick wins to be able to gain growth. And this is one of those, not necessarily a quick win, but it's something that can turn the dial relatively quickly.
Absolutely. Okay, so as we wrap up, here, what would be the kind of one thing that you would like to leave listeners with?
One thing I would like to leave is, SalesStar, we're a global sales transformation company. So we're represented throughout the world. Here in the UK, this is, I work with my business partner to build on SalesStar. We work together really well, Janice, and I'd like to see more collaborations with women. I'd like to see more women leaders giving a strong foothold for others, and for us to really set the stall out for that to be a possibility.
Absolutely, absolutely. And approach us on that. We are part of various networks, so make sure that you link in with myself and Alison if you're not already connected with us. Many people listen to these lives after the session, so don't think that you can't continue the conversation, and please do connect with myself and Alison. I have another live that is coming up. I've clicked on the wrong one. Another live that is coming up on the 6th of March, and I will be talking with Laurie Richardson and also Alison Hyman, and we're talking about unlocking sales brilliance. And this is on the 6th of March. So we'll be talking about how CEOs can strategically elevate their sales game. CEOs have got to have an awareness of sales. But I'm continuing to talk about women in sales, the Scale Your Sales podcast. We're hosting all women in the month of March. I mean, I'm always hosting women, but particularly in the month of March. But I'd really like people to leave with that. If you're not in a company that really values you and what you can bring to the table, remember the first stat, that more of our buyers are in B2B are women. They're coming down the line. So if your organization does not understand that you need to have a workforce that reflects that, then you're probably in the wrong environment. So make the decision really quickly and move to an environment that really values and supports you.
Great thing to leave on, Janice.
Excellent, excellent. So I will see you on the 6th of March. Thank you so much, Alison. I've really enjoyed our conversation, and I think we've hit a lot of key points in terms of some of the barriers and what we can do, having a growth open mindset, and just being aware that a lot of the tropes that people talk about, it's got nothing to do with you.
Well said.
All right. Bye, everyone. Make sure you connect with us. Thanks, Alison.